And we have in big ideas, again, our forecast for 2027, I think, is around 650,000, and beyond that, 1.5 million.
That was Cathie Wood, CEO of ARK Invest. She believes Bitcoin will eventually hit $1 million. Do you agree with her prediction for Bitcoin? There are a lot of people in the Bitcoin and crypto space who believe that Bitcoin will be hitting massive price gains here over the next 5 years. This is the stock to flow from Plan B. You can see right here in 2025, he believes Bitcoin's price will be somewhere around $600,000. That is crazy to think about. Do you guys think that Bitcoin can get that high? In today's clip, Cathie will be explaining why her Bitcoin price prediction is so high. And at the end of the video, we'll also be checking out her thoughts on the coming crypto regulation, what she thinks is going to happen, whether it's going to be good or bad for Bitcoin and crypto. So make sure to stay tuned for all this information. Let's go ahead and check out the clip here.
When he said, "This is what I've been looking for ever since we went off the gold exchange standard in 1971, a rules-based global monetary system." And I said, "Oh, wow, how big could this be?" And it was only a $6 billion, we called it network value at the time, market cap. He said, "Well, how big is the US monetary base?" And I said, "Well, it's 4.5 trillion. And now, of course, it's 8 trillion, 7.5, 8 trillion. He said, "Well, there you go." And so I bought personally. And we have in big ideas, again, our forecast for 2027, I think, is around 650,000, and beyond that, 1.5 million. Two numbers we have. Our base case is roughly 650,000 for 2027. Now that has come down. We were using 1 million plus 4 or 5 years out, but because we've had the debacles associated with centralized, opaque institutions, as opposed to decentralized and transparent, institutions are going to hold back a little bit. But we still think that the million plus is right in our bull case. And you can see how we build our case and look at the assumptions, how much institutional involvement and so forth. Very conservative assumptions. And our conviction actually has grown through this year, grown through this past year, because FTX, Celsius, 3AC, Voyager, all of these were centralized, opaque institutions. They went bust. And even the centralized, regulated institutions, now we're looking at Genesis, probably bankruptcy, yes, Silvergate, these are regulated. And but again, they're much more centralized and opaque.
So Cathie Wood's massive Bitcoin price prediction at $1.5 million, if you got in today at around $20,000 Bitcoin, and we went up to $1.5 million, you can see that would be around a 7,500% gain. That's a 76x on any of your money. So if you ever do get to $1.5 million per Bitcoin, if you put $100 in today, that will be redeemable for $7,600 in the future at a $1.5 million Bitcoin. That's definitely something to think about. And Cathie gives her thoughts on regulation here in the next clip. And Gary Gensler, the head chairman of the SEC, has been very vocal here as of late, talking about how he views crypto regulation. He's basically called all cryptos outside of Bitcoin securities. But Cathie gives a good point here in regarding Coinbase, and I'll let you guys watch the clip, but it is very interesting. Let's go ahead and check it out, and let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below regarding regulation.
Well, Bitcoin came out of 0809, right? And look at all the regulated companies that went under then, and all of the counterparty risk that nobody understood, you know, and all of the paperwork that had not been done. So, you know, I do think about what you're saying. I think I don't think, we worry about the innovation that is leaving the US and moving to other countries who are much more friendly. The UK, I think, and Europe generally, from a regulatory point of view, has much more of a solution, more clarity than the US. But I think the American DNA is such, and we see it in how regulators are going this far, and the most interesting one to me, now consider the source, we own it. So Coinbase. Now I'm listening to the regulators and they're saying, well, if it looks like a security and it walks like a security and it quacks like a security, then it's a security. And we will enforce the securities laws. That's what the SEC does. And I'm thinking, well, Coinbase had to go through the SEC. They had to issue an S1, highly regulated. They had a lot of tokens that now the SEC is questioning as securities. Well, has the definition of its security changed since Coinbase went public in 2001? And it went public around the time that Gary Gensler came in. So maybe that's where the disconnect is. Gary Gensler is much more of an enforcer. I don't know, but the definition of a security should not have changed. And if they didn't think these should have been on Coinbase's platform, then they shouldn't have let them go through. So if you look at how derivatives evolved in the markets, it was very messy. They had to put in place not a completely new regulatory structure, but they had to bring the CFTC into the discussion, and we got a whole bunch of new guidelines and rules, right? So I think that's where we're going with this new asset class, which we really do. We believe it's a new asset class. I know that, but I know there are securities associated with the new asset class. So let's just be clear. Bitcoin, you've told us, is not a security. Great. Coinbase clearly is a security, and it has on top of it assets that could be a new asset class. So I think we're iterating. It's been very messy. Even this a concept of staking, I don't know if you saw Gary Gensler's video where he said, no, I'm not talking about stake, S-T-E-A-K. He's trying to make this very, he's trying to be approachable, and I'm talking about S-T-A-K-E. And then you look at okay, the one that Paxos basically said it would stop staking.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah,
I think Kraken said it, and Paxos as well. Yeah.
Kraken. Well, Coinbase has a staking service, but it is a utility, not a security. So again, we're iterating, and it is interesting to watch the SEC try to figure this out. You're right, that is a service. It's a technology here. It's a security here. And it's like, it's complicated, right?